Good evening. I'm Tom Brokaw with NBC Nightly News. President Reagan calls it the Second American Revolution. The sweeping tax reform plan he'll present in a nationally televised speech tonight. It is an attempt to simplify a tax code so complicated it defies rational explanation. The question we're all asking now is, how will my taxes be affected? Well, that depends in part on where you live. Many individuals will pay lower taxes under the president's plan. Many businesses will pay more. Two key parts of the package would lower everyone's taxes. The old tax structure with more than a dozen brackets and a top rate of 50% would be scrapped. The new plan calls for three rates: 15% for taxable income below $30,000, 25% on income from $30,000 to $70,000, and a new top rate of 35% for income above $70,000. And the personal exemption would be more generous. Taxpayers now deduct $1,040 for each parent and child in the family. That deduction would almost double to $2,000. But the exemption would no longer be adjusted for inflation as it is now. Chris Wallace is at the White House tonight to describe the president's strategy. Chris, how confident are they there that they can get all of this through Congress reasonably intact at this point?
Well, Tom, they know it's going to be a tough fight. In fact, the most optimistic prediction that I heard anyone around here giving today was a 60-40 chance for tax reform. Ironically, they think their chances are pretty good in the Democratic House, that the Democrats, they think, are going to be afraid to let President Reagan take this issue from them. But they say it's going to be much tougher in the Republican Senate, that there is no great movement in the Senate for tax reform at this time.
And where do they expect the biggest pressure to come from?
Well, I think first of all from the smokestack industries such as car companies and steel companies, which they say will lose their biggest tax breaks. Second, from those high tax states such as New York and Wisconsin, which would lose the federal deduction for state and local income taxes. And third, we should point out that about 21% of all taxpayers would actually have their taxes increased under this plan. If anyone can organize them, they'll be a very powerful lobby against tax reform.
President going to get out and sell this plan across the country, Chris?
Tom, it's kind of a three-phase strategy. Right now, for about the next few weeks, he will be selling hard, trying to convince people that tax reform, and this plan in particular, is good for them. Then during the summer, when Congress is holding months of hearings, you won't hear much from the president. But the key votes are going to come this fall in October and September and October. And at that point, they say the president will campaign hard again, hoping to tap a reservoir of good feeling for tax reform, a reservoir that he hopes to start creating tonight.
Thanks. Chris Wallace at the White House tonight. However this tax reform emerges from Congress, there will be winners and losers, obviously. Irving R. Levine has been studying the president's plan, and tonight he describes the winners and losers if it is approved by Congress.
The biggest winners, high-income Americans like the D'Alessandros of Manchester, New Hampshire. And at the other extreme, low-income families earning less than $10,000 a year who would get the largest cuts in income taxes. The D'Alessandros' income last year was $77,000. Their 50% tax rate would be cut to 35%.
Well, we just roughly went through the numbers. And there's a possibility that we could save maybe $1,000 a year.
The D'Alessandros have no oil or real estate tax shelters, no vacation home, deductions that would be lost under the Reagan plan, deductions that tend to help high-income taxpayers who itemize. And New Hampshire has no significant state income tax. A big contrast with losers under the Reagan plan, like Paul and Laurie Sturts, who depend heavily on deductions to lower their federal taxes. They could no longer deduct New York's high state and city income or property taxes.
If all of a sudden you can't deduct, you're left with, well, do I stay here? Should I sell the house and move?
Losers as well, builders and realtors. With deductions on local property taxes eliminated, houses will be more expensive to own and harder to sell.
Home sales, both new home sales and existing home sales, will go down by 10 to 15%.
Winners, investors who sell stocks at a profit. The top tax of 20% on capital gains would be cut to 17.5%. Also a boon for brokers.
More people will be buying stocks and sooner or later taking their profits because the maximum tax rate is lower and they will keep more of their profits.
Losers, people who deduct for business entertainment. Deductions for meals limited to $25 plus half of any amount above that. a threat to the 3-martini lunch. Businessmen say the deduction is unrealistically low.
Right here, it's going to cost me, I'm entertaining some friends, it's going to cost at least $70, $75 per person.
Other losers, charities like the United Way, which supports this soup kitchen. Charitable contributions would be deductible only for the 1/3 of taxpayers who itemize.
We estimate that charitable giving will drop about $6 billion, or 10% of total giving.
Losers, workers covered by health insurance paid by employers. Part of the insurance premium would be counted as taxable income.
Government takes more and I get less. I mean, of course it's a problem.
In general, the biggest winners would be people with the fewest deductions. They would benefit most from the lower tax rate and pay lower taxes. The family that itemizes deductions would pay an average $900 a year more in taxes. Whether a taxpayer is a winner or a loser, he will be spared some grief if the plan indeed simplifies tax returns. Irving R. Levine, NBC News, Washington.
When I come back in a moment, John Dancy will tell us how the president's tax plan will affect American business. John Cochran tonight is in Bangladesh, a poor country struggling with what's left after a wave of destruction. And Lisa Myers tonight on the soap opera that is the Claus von Bülow trial. Today, his ex-mistress was on the stand.
Answer in the most... I have 3 reasons for eating foods like Kellogg's All-Bran. And here they are. You see, I just read about new reports from the National Cancer Institute, and some studies suggest that a high-fiber, low-fat diet may reduce the risk of some kinds of cancer. So, I made some changes, like eating Kellogg's All-Bran. Because ounce for ounce, no food has more fiber than All-Bran. Just knowing that makes us all feel better.
Maximum fiber, Kellogg's All-Bran.
My maiden voyage.
You did great. Let's get that coffee.
Only half a cup.
Well, you love a hearty coffee.
The caffeine.
Look.
Brim, decaffeinated coffee.
Dark roast from Brim. This Brim's got a deep flavor that really speaks to you.
Speaks to me. If it tastes this rich, fill it to the rim.
Fill your cup to the rim with a hearty taste of dark roast from Brim, also in regular roast.
Came to this U-Haul Center to rent a paint sprayer. I can paint the house and still go fishing.
I didn't know U-Haul rented lawnmowers, tillers, cement mixers.
Now U-Haul Centers rent almost everything for home.
Floor care.
Work.
Plumbing.
And play.
VCRs and movies.
Now U-Haul even rents motorhomes, camping trailers, and boats. Perfect for my fishing trip.
Honey, after you finish painting, let's go catch some big ones.
Thanks, U-Haul.
Rent it all at U-Haul.
By and large, many individuals would benefit from the president's new tax proposal, but the corporate tax bite would be larger. The new tax plan closes some of the loopholes that have permitted many of our biggest companies to get away with paying little or no taxes at all. Corporations have shouldered a smaller portion of the tax burden in recent years, down from 23% in 1966 to 8.5% now. The White House plan would raise that to about 12%. Roughly where it was when President Reagan took office. And for weeks now, there has been a furious battle in Washington over which loopholes would be closed and which would be preserved. John Dancy takes a look at the corporate winners and losers tonight.
The business that should be hurt least by President Reagan's tax plan is the oil industry, which is largely financed by investors lured by generous tax incentives. Those incentives helped Jay Dyer's Dyco Petroleum become a multi-million-dollar company.
We're going to move to make that deal.
Dyco and other oil companies raise money by selling limited partnerships to investors attracted by huge tax write-offs. Originally, the Treasury Department wanted to limit those write-offs, but President Reagan claimed energy research is necessary for national security and restored the tax breaks. Oil men like Jay Dyer agree.
We know it's going to take these incentives or something comparable to get the job done.
Under the president's plan, one of the biggest loopholes for business, the investment tax credit, will be closed, but others will remain open. Accelerated depreciation, which allows fast write-offs of equipment, capital gains on sales of property or equipment, still taxed at a preferential rate, and fringe benefits, which will be taxed but at a lower rate than first expected. Treasury Secretary James Baker recently told businessmen they will find the reform plan far less offensive than they feared. That infuriates Robert McIntyre, who lobbies for lower taxes on individuals.
I didn't think they were going to have the courage to come out and say, as they apparently are going to say, that we've thought it over and we think that corporations should pay less and the average family should pay more.
From 1981 to 83, General Electric made $6.5 billion profit and paid no income tax. Neither did RCA or Dow Chemical or Boeing. Fully 50% of the top 250 companies in the U.S. paid 4% or less in taxes because of tax loopholes.
They're making a living on what they're doing. They should pay their share, too.
The middle class has to pay, the low class, we all pay taxes. Why shouldn't they pay any tax?
Why, indeed? The question has become so widespread and so embarrassing that even Mr. Reagan now supports a minimum tax, saying, in effect, no matter how many loopholes a corporation uses, it must pay some tax. Congress seems receptive.
Present minimum taxes, which are on the books, are a joke. They're like Swiss cheese, more whole than cheese.
Even with a minimum tax, there will be corporate winners and losers. The losers, companies that rely on heavy capital investment, defense contractors, the chemical industry, and drug firms. The few winners under the plan will be labor-intensive firms that now have few write-offs, including some of the biggest corporate names in America, IBM, Whirlpool, and General Motors.
So, on the surface at least, companies will be paying higher taxes, but not as much as originally thought. And some companies may elect to pass those taxes on to customers as higher prices. John Dancy, NBC News at the U.S. Capitol.
The tax debate will begin in the House Ways and Means Committee, whose chairman, Dan Rostenkowski of Chicago, will deliver the Democratic response to the president tonight. In his speech released earlier today, Rostenkowski congratulates the president for joining what he said was a long-time Democratic fight for tax reform. But Rostenkowski urges Mr. Reagan to be flexible, saying the special interest lobbies have already joined forces against reform. NBC News will carry the president's speech and the Democratic response live beginning at 8 o'clock Eastern Time tonight.
If you'd like to make your play for a personal computer, don't get bogged down with worries about software and expandability. Come to the IBM PC Classic. Explore the best-selling IBM PCs and the latest in IBM software and options. With prices under par, you'll have a clear shot at higher productivity. You can get things rolling at the IBM PC Classic. So, drop in. It's now in full swing at a store near you, or call your IBM representative.
Imagine if something could signal you when you make a spelling mistake. That would mean you'd be able to correct it before anyone else ever saw it. Well, IBM's Selectric System 2000 typewriters with spell check can do that. It's an electronic dictionary that signals you when you misspell a word. So now if you make a spelling mistake, the whole world doesn't have to know.
We're your type.
Maalox, America's #1 antacid for excess acid and heartburn, plus the #1 reliever of painful gas pressure, are now in handy roll packs of Maalox Plus tablets. Maalox Plus gives you 1, relief of excess acid and heartburn, and 2, relief of painful gas. That's Maalox Plus tablets for relief of excess acid and heartburn, plus relief of painful gas. Try Maalox Plus with a great Swiss cream flavor. 1-2 acid gas relief, any way you want it.
The anguish grows in Bangladesh, and so does the cyclone death toll. The president of Bangladesh said today he now believes that at least 5,000 may be dead, possibly 10,000. Unofficial estimates put the deaths at several times those numbers. For those who lived, the United States said it is sending $500,000 in relief. Cochran reports tonight that the people there have nowhere to go.
The aftermath seems so calm, back to normal, and then you see something grotesquely out of place. For weeks, the tides may push bodies out of the Bay of Bengal, and some on remote islands may lie here for a time. The sand is too soft for rescue helicopters to land. As with most natural disasters, death and destruction seemed entirely arbitrary. Small children died, while a few miles away, other children were unharmed. This old man lived, though his grandchildren didn't. When the water started rising above his head, he scurried into one of the few sturdy houses. This younger man, but old at 35, lost his wife and son. His home, well, you really can't tell where it was. Flatland and a country known for cyclones and flooding. The people who chose to live here are not stupid. They're just desperately poor, and their options were few. The people knew it was risky to live here, but there were compensations. There was land available, and the land was fertile. It's not fertile now. The seawater these children splash in now seems so much fun. But it will soon dry up, leaving behind salt, and that means no crops. Some took a chance living on these islands and survived, especially here on the island of Mampura. In the great monsoon of 1970 that killed hundreds of thousands, Mampura was hit the worst. Most survivors left, but some stayed. And today their president, General Ershad, came to see them, to say help is on the way. Some applauded, but the older ones looked as though they had heard it all before. Then the president did something that seemed insensitive. He had money distributed to a small number of people. He thought they would need new clothes. This at a time when food, water, and shelter seemed vastly more important. It was a clumsy but apparently sincere effort to help. So far, the Bangladesh military government has moved quickly with limited resources to meet the emergency. But the authorities are not really sure of the scope of their problem. Until today, the official figure for the dead was under 1,500. Suddenly, that changed.
So far, the official figure we have got is about 5,000. So it may go beyond 10,000 also. It will take about 7 days' time to really find out the correct figure.
So far, it's largely guesswork until families start reporting their missing. This is a nation of Muslims, religious but not extremists, mostly easygoing and used to rolling with the punches. Or so it seems until you meet the man whose wife and 4 children ran for a place to hide. Just a few seconds too late.
A few hours ago, I spoke with John Cochran and asked him what evidence there is of an international relief effort there now.
Hasn't gotten underway yet, and what's interesting is that President Ershad told me today that he is not formally asking for help, and that's largely a matter of pride. This is a young country, only 13 years old. It is, according to World Bank figures, the poorest country in the world. It has the reputation of a beggar nation, always looking for a handout. President Ershad wants to change that image. That's why he has not asked for help, but the country desperately does need help, especially food.
Well, it's one thing to be proud, but where is all of this assistance going to come from that they're going to need, obviously?
Well, that's largely a political question because officially Bangladesh is non-aligned, it's neutral. Unofficially, it's pro-Western. Last year, President Ershad kicked out some Soviet diplomats suspected of spying, so Moscow isn't going to be in a hurry to help Bangladesh. If help is going to come, it's going to come from the West, and of course that means the United States, Tom.
Thank you very much, John Cochran, tonight in Dhaka, Bangladesh. The kidnapping today of another American in Beirut, David Jacobson, brought a new warning from the U.S. government that Americans should not travel to Lebanon and those still there should get out. Jacobson was abducted by several gunmen after leaving the American University of Beirut Medical Center, where he is director. 5 other Americans still are missing in Lebanon, their abductions claimed by the group known as the Islamic Holy War.
It's different because it's engineered to your car's exact specifications, yet affordably priced. It's golden because it's backed by a solid national guarantee. If anything should ever go wrong, in 50 states, we'll replace it free for as long as you own your car. It's Midas, the gold standard of mufflers.
Trust the Midas touch.
I don't want some wimpy tasting cereal.
If you want bushels of taste, Fruitful Brand.
I don't want some itty-bitty taste.
Peaches, raisins, apples, dates. Fruitful Brand. Did you say peaches? Bushels of flavor swimming in the flakes. Fruitful Brand has bushels of taste.
High fiber Kellogg's Fruitful Brand. Now with even more fruit, because we added
peaches. Bushels and bushels and bushels of taste in Kellogg's Fruitful Brand.
Now with peaches.
Vladimir! Where is Comrade Petrenko?
What is commotion?
This beer Petrenko buys for embassy.
Meisterbrau, expensive capitalist beer.
Yet, our operatives tell me is not expensive. Only tastes expensive.
Then what he's doing with money he says he spends on beer?
I want to buy big American automobile with tail fins.
Rich, smooth Meisterbrau. It only tastes expensive.
When soap opera actress Alexandra Isles took the stand today to testify against her ex-lover Claus von Bülow, it was a soap opera come to life. He stands accused of the attempted murder of his wife. Isles was the other woman whose testimony in his first trial helped convict him. This time, after hiding in Europe, she appeared at the last possible moment to beat a deadline set by the judge. And as Lisa Myers reports tonight, she even had some dramatic new evidence to present.
Alexandra Isles was hustled into court under heavy guard, having finally come out of hiding to testify against her former lover. As in the first trial, she told of Von Bülow's repeated promises to marry her. She said she had given Von Bülow an ultimatum to leave his wife and marry her about the time of Sonny Von Bülow's first coma. In startling new testimony, Isles said Von Bülow told her that he and his wife argued about a divorce the night before the first coma, and that he stood by for hours knowing his wife was dying.
He said that the next day when she was unconscious that he watched her, knowing that she was in a bad way, all day, and watched her, and finally, when she was on the point of dying, he said that he couldn't go through with it, and he called and saved her life.
Defense lawyer Thomas Puccio quickly tried to destroy Isles' credibility, asking why she withheld this information at the first trial.
I guess because I couldn't cope with what I didn't say.
And you certainly didn't believe that he intentionally tried to harm his wife in December of 1979, or you wouldn't have continued to associate with him. Isn't that true? Isn't that true?
I'm ashamed to say it's not true.
Puccio pointed out that even after Von Bülow's first conviction, Isles wrote him a letter saying she wanted to continue their affair.
You're saying that you wrote a letter saying that you wanted to continue.
Have you ever been in love? I doubt it, but you do some crazy things.
Jurors in the first trial said Isles' testimony was pivotal to their decision to convict Von Bülow. Prosecutors hope that today's testimony was every bit as damaging. Lisa Myers, NBC News, Providence, Rhode Island.
In Rome, there was a courtroom drama of a different sort. The man who shot the Pope, Mehmet Ali Agca, all but shot down the prosecution of the people that he is accused of sharing in the plot. For the second time in 2 days, he disrupted their trial with an outburst that had to hurt his credibility.
I am Jesus Christ.
Agca also predicted the end of the world, but he refused to answer questions about the gun that he used when he shot Pope John Paul in 1981. Agca was supposed to be the star witness against the 3 Bulgarians and 4 other Turks that he has identified as his accomplices. In this country, a federal judge said today that the Vietnam veterans who say that they were injured by Agent Orange will be collecting less money from their lawsuit than they had been expecting. Early estimates said that some veterans could get as much as $25,000. But the judge said today that the highest payment will be less than $13,000. Trans World Airlines is for sale tonight. Its board voted today to put the company on the auction block after a federal judge refused to stop a bid by financier Carl Icahn to take it over for $600 million.
When a hurricane this strong hit Houston, Houston found out you need an insurance company this strong behind you. Within hours, an Aetna task force was coming, over 100 strong, from round the country, assigned to the hardest hit, paying 1,000 claims a day and more, going the extra mile to put the people, the companies, the schools back in business.
Aetna, we're glad we met you.
Come on, America. Drive over for Firestone's computerized Master Care engine tune-up.
America's driving to Firestone.
And engine repair guesswork. Firestone's mastermind computer. Quick, thorough, gives you a printout. Nationwide warranty. Now, Master Care tune-up, only $34.95.
Driving force is Firestone.
And new tracks on sale from $29.95. The long mileage radial America needs. The price America wants.
Firestone.
I'm Jane Pauley. Tomorrow morning on Today, Treasury Secretary James Baker.
I'm John Palmer, and in our second hour, Broadway's new king of the road, Roger Miller.
Join us tomorrow morning on Today.
It's a great brand taste with a twist. Brand new Bran Muffin Crisp.
What's the twist? Now you can have the good things you get in a Bran Muffin in a crispy, good-tasting, high-fiber cereal. Bran Muffin Crisps.
Raisins and almonds you can't resist in new Bran Muffin Crisp.
Here's a cereal that has the high fiber you want with a taste you'll want more of.
Bran Muffin Crisp, huh? Nice twist.
The goodness of Bran with the twist. Brand new Bran Muffin Crisp.
Soft drink wars, Coke against Pepsi and all that. Giant corporations battling to the last bottle cap to win America's taste buds. That's one side of the soft drink business. Douglas Kiker went to Maine to share with us another side.
We got the juice, we got the splash, for the laugh of it, the ripple, the taste of it. We got the taste that no one has. Diet Coke.
In this day of cola wars, of fierce marketing battles between soft drink giants, isn't it nice to know that the Butterfield Bottling Company of Old Town, Maine is still in business? Owner, chief executive officer, and chief bottle washer, 64-year-old Percy O'Keefe, who inherited the business from his father. There was a day 60 years ago when 7 men worked 6 days a week in this plant, bottling carbonated soft drinks named S and OK.
Well, everything was by hand, and, you know, wash bottles by hand. Machinery was all by hand. It was altogether different.
There was a day when S and OK advertisements were seen in movie theaters, when S and OK delivery trucks were a familiar sight all over the eastern part of Maine, when the brand was as well known in Maine's small towns as Coke or Pepsi.
Years ago, when we was doing that well, Pepsi had Pepsi and Coke had Coke. Now that Pepsi and Coke both have all kinds of flavors.
In recent years, the big bottlers have squeezed Percy O'Keefe's little business, squeezed it hard. But they haven't squeezed him out, not yet. He's still hanging in there. Today he does all the bottling himself on a Rube Goldberg contraption that's about as old as he is. Orange and just about any other flavor you can name, including sarsaparilla and birch beer. No secret formulas, Percy mixes from memory. He also is S&OK's one and only distributor, loads the truck himself. He's got about 150 regular customers, all small grocery stores and convenience shops. No way he can compete in the big supermarkets.
Morning, Percy.
Morning, Alan.
How you doing this morning?
Percy O'Keefe only sells 6,000 or 7,000 cases of his soft drinks a year. And he knows his little company's days are numbered. There are only a few small bottlers like him left in this country. He'd sell out now if he could find a buyer.
I want to walk away from it, and if somebody else wants it, it's up to them. They want to buy it.
But what if you get no buyers?
Well, I'll just lock it up.
Douglas Kiker, NBC News, Old Town, Maine.
That's Nightly News for this Tuesday night. I'm Tom Brokaw. Good night from all of us at NBC News.
Tonight from London, Bernadette Peters, Chevy Chase, Brooke Shields, Marvelous Marvin Hagler, Crystal Gale, and Duran Duran in a birthday bash for Bob Hope tonight.
Wednesday on Highway to Heaven, when Jonathan sets out to play Cupid.
Are you married?
No. What price will he pay for love?
You're the angel, remember?
Wednesday.
Up next on the scene at 6, a state prison inmate praises a federal judge's ruling that conditions on death row are unconstitutional. And it's Election Day in Kentucky with voters turning out in big numbers.
Also tonight, Senator Albert Gore Jr. holds a town meeting, and we'll continue our series on the Nashville sit-ins with a look at the leaders of the movement 25 years ago.
These stories and more news coming up next on The Scene at 6.
Let Frank Davis put you behind the wheel of an 85 Somerset Regal, Buick's hottest new car in years. Frank Davis Buick with super deals and super financing is giving discounts up to $1,400. Combine that with the 8.8% financing